real quick, Joe Budden responds to Charlemagne. Today, when somebody put me on game about Joe actually had a little response to everybody who was talking about, you know what I mean? And actually, just to be clear, this all comes from here. And by the way, I know a lot of you guys are fascinated with this because it's an interesting business, realm. Maybe you don't want to be a podcaster yourself, or maybe you do, but you wonder what people make. I'm very open and honest. For the most part. So I usually speak when people just kind of allude to shit. Regardless, if you don't remember, I played this clip not too long ago. And the clip was this, right? So Charlemagne and, give me a second. Charlemagne and DJ Envy appeared on $1 Million Worth of Game. And when they appeared on $1 Million Worth of Game, we had Charlemagne who said this. Here we go.
Okay.
I think people that don't like hip hop now are just mad that it's
No. Actually, that's not the clip. Let me find the right clip. This is the clip, I believe, here. Okay. So that was said, and then miraculously, and Joe Budden responded to the whole thing. Some people believe that was a subliminal at Joe Budden. Joe Budden, if you guys don't know, I hate talking in these rumors. Reportedly, Joe Budden walked away from $20 million. That's the number. Okay? He walked away from $20 million to Spotify back in the day, right? That's the number. I don't want to hear, some people say he wanted 100, whatever the case is, but he walked away from $20 million. By the way, this isn't 20 for a year, right? This is 20 for maybe multiple years. I don't know the details. I only hear the top number, okay? Now we hear Gillian Wallow has also walked away from $20 million. What does that mean? Joe stayed private, and Joe basically got his deal to be, he was doing it independent. So we don't know if he made more than 20 over the same time period. I've asked him on everyday, off the record, when me and him did it, he said, yes, he's made more than what he was offered, which, I don't know, let's say they offered him 20 for 3 or 20 for 2. Clearly he's saying he made more than that, right? Okay, cool. Put that aside. Gillian Wallow, I'm telling you, they walked away from $20 million from one of the people who wanted their services. They got more than that, right? I don't know the amount of years. I don't know if it was more than Joe, less than Joe when you factor years or other terms. I don't know, but they did walk away from that amount. That's the number going around. For whatever reason, it feels like there's tension among everybody but me. I love all these guys. Me and Wallow, we talked on the phone for about 2 hours, 2 days ago. Me and Charlemagne calls me frequently from time to time, gives me game. Me and Joe, that's somebody who I think we do amazing content together, but we also trade ideas and we also kind of, let each other know what's going on in the marketplace. Okay. I have zero problems with the people who are at the top of the list. And this is one of the first times that I'm the neutral party, but also I'm the youngest party who's just kind of I'm hoping to, again, there's a lot of discussion to be had. I want to get to certain places that some of these guys have gotten, whether it's Charlemagne. Charlemagne has a late night show. Joe Budden has been, the de facto voice of the culture for a long time. And Gillian Wallow, these guys, they have the streets and they have a lot of the youth as well. So, everybody has their place. Regardless, while I'm not in any kind of beef or whatever with these guys, and they all kind of show me love, and I love and respect all of them for that. By the way, I feel like I just dick sucked all of them, but it is what it is. It feels like there's a little bit of elbow shuffling between Joe, Charlemagne, Joe, $1 Million Worth of Game, and Joe responded to those comments when he said this. So in his podcast, he responded by saying this, and he responded directly to Charlemagne. Here we go.
Wait, you mean to tell me they walked away from $20 million and gasp, got an even better situation? That's possible for black men? Nobody said that was possible for black men when it was happening to me. I just want to highlight how some of these narratives change. But that's not where my anger comes from. First of all, let's all take a moment here to give a round of applause to Gillian Wallow.
We did it the first time, nigga.
I want to do it every time.
Word. No doubt.
I want to never leave doubt. The same way Nori come in here and give it up for me, I do it over there. I want to never leave doubt for anybody out there that watch us and try to, emulate some of that shit, that it's all peace at the top. Because like I said on Drink Champs, when everybody's up, it's not too much to fight about.
Okay.
But that's not where my anger comes from.
Talk about it, Joe. What's going on? Is that church music?
That's not where my sadness comes from right now today.
Okay, I have no idea what this music is.
Oh, shit. All of these years, I've been looking at Charlemagne and I like Magneto and Professor X that just have some of the same views but different ways of getting there, different ideologies.
Okay.
And I always thought that he was like that second tier right under me.
Oh, shit. Yo, I don't know what it is with these guys. There's like subtle shit on it. He's like, yo, I was like, if Professor X and Magneto, you can't say we're Professor X and Magneto. Then you say, I always looked at him like he was right there below me. Yo, Joe, you devious, man. Come on now.
I always thought that right after me was him. Because
right
the optics
was him. Yo, Joe is a petty motherfucker.
made it look like that. But then him and Envy went up there looking doofy and goofy. And they just sucked so much dick that I had.
Whoa.
They sucked. Charlemagne was looking up to Gillian Wallow in awe. It was like a light illuminating from them.
What?
And he said, they are the highest. And it hit me and I got sad. It killed a little piece of me to know, holy shit. Charlemagne is saying that Gillian Wallow make more than him.
Wait.
Uh-oh. You mean to tell self?
Wait. So we played the clip.
He walked him.
Okay. Let me ask y'all what y'all think that means. Do you believe when Charlemagne says that, Charlemagne means they're the highest paid people on the list? See, that's two different things. I understand and I have a full understanding what that means. They're the highest paid black podcasters on the list, or podcasters on that list, which most people are black on it. Hear what I'm asking. When you hear Charlemagne say that, do you take away Gillian Wallow are making the most money on the list, or do you take it that their podcast has the biggest deal on the list? What do you take away from it? Because I have a takeaway, and this is, I'll put my takeaway. I'll let y'all know my takeaway in a minute, but I'm gonna just chill for now and let this all play out. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's get back to Joe.
I said to myself, Self, no way. Not with a late night show. Envy just told me about a podcast network. You just had your podcast fest. You did like a festival of sorts, something a majigger you did.
Thank you for the cheer. And by the way, if anyone either becomes a member on YouTube or also subscribes on Rumble, please let me know that I can make sure I read everybody contribution to the whole Chat Nigga Network. But thank you for the 1,000 bits. It's low best. He says, highest paid podcasters. Joe is a musician podcast. See the God is good at semantics. I didn't get a master's in psychology for nothing. Okay? All right. Let's keep it going, though. Let's keep hearing what Joe said.
Up there in Atlanta on fight weekend, didn't sound bright, didn't hear much about it. but I saw you had Just Hilarious, and I know how much I make for my pot. I just always assume it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, Charlemagne don't have $30 million. Wait, you not in you didn't go home to get your big brother to come fight the fight for you because you didn't have enough money. Wait, that's why we are celebrating and you are hating. Sometimes you give information about yourself without you knowing you did. So my question to Envy and Charlemagne is, instead of telling me how much these two niggas make, tell me about what y'all make. I think I got both of you niggas beat by laps. Tie them up together like the number 11. I think I got you, even though I'm only paid about $21,000 a year.
Thank you to Kevin on YouTube. He says, they obviously throwing shade at Joe. Do you believe that those comments were throwing shade at Joe? I mean, I'm just asking. By the way, I think we all kind of have I know I openly kind of have conversation about just what's going on in, we're blessed to be at this position where black media personalities, whether you have a podcast or not, or you just have a platform, you get to be at the seat of these tables. That's really dope. So, I have these conversations. I'm always bigging people up, but I have these conversations. I don't try to have these conversations to shit on people, because anybody I would want to shit on, they're not in these lists. This is great. This is why I be having fun when it comes to this, because put it like this, the only guys who would be even close to that is Ruri and Mealy Mo. They're bums. They're done. Their career is over. Sharp gets paid $200 an hour. We not Sharp can't talk. The conversation we're talking about is people getting millions of dollars per year for what they do. Sharp is getting $200 an hour. I'm not talking about him. The other dudes who I be thinking I'm beefing with, I'm not talking about them. This is everybody who's in this bracket, I have no problem with. So I talk about it, but I big everybody up. But when it comes to Joe, I don't know what it is. I think Joe and $1 Million Worth of Game, there might have been a little bit of friction at a point. And Joe and Charlemagne, I just could never understand. But anyway.
Of course.
Hold on. Let me change that. Sharp not getting $200 an hour. The hour is the podcast. Now, you might think $200 an hour that's how you finesse a motherfucker, right? I'll tell somebody you're getting $200 for an hour if the hour is the content that you're giving me. If you're getting $200 per episode, bro, you fucking, anyway, I see a lot of people saying that's great money. Okay, cool. Sharp gets $200 per episode. That's great money. All right, cool. We're talking exponentially higher levels than that. I'm sorry.
According to
Earth. According to everything. Yeah. Everything. 25 sometimes on a good year. On a good year. Yo, I'm serious. I didn't want Magneto to die. It's not a race anymore. He should have been bumped down a few more slots in the list if he not at the... God... And he would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling fucking kids. Now, to the other notion of highest paid podcasters, well, how do you know? Clearly, I think I've done a masterful job hiding the accounting. Y'all funny. Come on. Come on. I'm just saying, how do you know? Now, if you niggas are over there trying to come up with a new list of highest paid, count me in. I'm coming. Whatever metric we're using to do this. I'm there. We can keep it a secret. We can not tell nobody.
Can I interject here? Because you know me, I love me some pocket watching. And this would be a very interesting list. He's saying if we're talking about a new list where it's all based on what people are making, he says he wants to be a part of it. Now, I have a bunch of questions to ask about if this was going to be a list, right? Because I might be interested in that list as well, okay? First of all, are we only talking about earnings from a podcast? That's very big. That's very big to know, right? When I said that Gillian Wallo are the highest paid podcasters, because I believe they have the biggest deal of any black hip hop podcasters for a single podcast. If we're talking about media personalities making money, if I was ranking media personalities making money, oh, my list is way different. Way different. Way different. But I let him go. Let me hear.
What? I'm down for that.
No, you're not.
Shit.
All right.
If we putting a new list together, y'all can't assume where people are on the list. If we put a new list together, I want to come. I'm coming. I'm at the top of that one too.
Do you think that people get offended, like I said earlier, when you talk about, you know how much niggas is making? That could ruffle feathers. That's a thing that you go out, I know how much you niggas is making. You say that a lot.
Well, I'm wrong, because I thought that Charlemagne had $30 million or $20 million. He might not have no $million. He might have no. Might be.
I mean, I don't want
to. It might be many million.
No, can I?
Like many.
Would you answer this question? And I know I don't want to take us to down another whole pause, but where that shit derived from with you and this nigga? I don't.
Okay. Can I add on that? If this was about who made the most money in media, I think this whole list would look so ridiculous. I'm also here to disagree with Joe. I don't think Joe's number one on that list. If it's about who made more money in media, I'm telling you right now, if that's the list, me, Adam, and Vlad are top 5. I don't want to hear what nobody's saying. I don't care what because we make more of platforms than we probably make for, like, I make more of my platform than I make for my podcast. Clearly. And I got a big ass, pretty decent deal for my podcast. So, like, again, if you add in Adam's porn shit where he's probably getting $1 million a month, like, do y'all really want to compete with a nigga making $1 million a month for slanging cock? Vlad's making a shit ton of money. And Vlad know how to work his expenditures. He's not spending that much. Most of what Vlad's making is based on platform and a catalog of 20 years. That list will be interesting. Now, without ever divulging info, and by the way, I don't know where Joe would be on that list. It's hard to pocket watch Joe. It's really hard to pocket watch Joe. Because as much as Joe doesn't fuck with certain shit, Joe is a smart and shrewd businessman. Joe is like independent, but Joe got to deal with Patreon, and he also got to deal with AMP right now. From what I'm hearing, AMP is giving out little bags. So you can't really judge how much Joe has. Joe might be getting more money than we think. Then he owns his podcast. We don't know how the numbers fall when it comes to that. Now, as it relates to Charlemagne, man, listen, Charlemagne, again, I will, out of respect for his privacy, I would never say certain things. But I will tell you this. Charlemagne has been very open with me when it comes to business, especially when he hears, Axe finna make a move. If he's talked to those people, did business with them, had negotiations with them, he'll call me and be like, Axe, this is what they wanted to give me. You could use that information and go however you need to go. Charlemagne's getting a shit ton of money. And what I mean by a shit ton of money, he's getting offered the top of the top dollars when it comes to media. That is the truth. Charlemagne, I believe, would, in my opinion, still demands that because of everything he's done in media before. Not only that, he's an author. Not only that, he has a late night show. Not only that, he's the head of a podcast network. Not only that, he's working on some shit with Audible with him and Kevin Hart. Not only that, he owns like a bunch of franchises of like fast food. Like he's someone who I think if we're looking at the amount of money that Charlemagne gets, Charlemagne has just always been a cheap fuck. Like, and I think he would admit that. There was a time I used to listen to Charlemagne religiously. You know, he used to tell his fans or tell the audience that he was driving like a 99 Jeep Wrangler. You know what I mean? This is when he's getting paid millions of dollars. He was doing the Kawhi. So again, I think sometimes people might, you know, Charlemagne never leads with money. But I'm going to be honest with you. When he was up for renegotiation with iHeart, from what was being said in industry circles, everybody who tried to bid for him was offering top dollar. So again, you know, Charlemagne is one of them niggas, like, even if he rich, he's still cheap. Like, he don't flex. He cheap as a mother. And every time you talk to him about it or you hear him talk about it, he'd be like, yo, I've been fired like 5. He'll say all that type of shit. But Charlemagne be having it. He just don't flex at all. I think all of us people in independent media, including Joe, because it is a sign of our success and our ability to create a business model, especially when you're independent, you kind of see what the wealth is. Like, for example, Joe got a Maybach, so does Gillian Wallow, or Wallow does. You know what I mean? You kind of see, like with me, you know I have a Lambo. You'll see a little, you don't know what the fuck Charlemagne got. But he got some shit. And he got a lot of money. So this is where I would disagree with him, but also, if we're talking just straight money, where I would agree with Joe on, but with the exception of Charlemagne, is that the people who are heading up the who's making the most money list is probably the people who either have their own platform or number 2 are independent. Because no matter what deal you got from somebody, it might sound great and feel great when you initially sign, but a year or 2 into the deal, you'll probably start to think, oh, I could have made this by myself. That's just how most deals go if you perform. Now, if you don't perform like Ruri and Mealy Mall, you hit the lick once and everybody know you're done. Do you get what I'm saying? However, I digress. Let me let this play.
It's a thing that you go out. I know how much you niggas is making. You say that a lot.
Well, I'm wrong, because I thought that Charlemagne had $30 million or $20 million. He might not have no $1 million. He might have no might be.
I mean, I don't want to.
It might be many million.
No, can I?
Like many.
Would you answer this question? And I know I don't want to take us to down another whole pause, but where that shit derived from with you and this nigga, I don't get it. Like, where does that issue, the underlying issue, derive from with you and him? Like, if he's been on for a while and then, you know what I'm saying, you've been doing what you're doing.
Does the competitiveness come from comparison?
Yo, it's no competitive. Let me mute this PC shit, y'all.
No, where does it derive?
Hey, yo, check this out. As a podcaster, you niggas out there better watch how the conversation goes when it look like it's shifting my way. I'm not ducking no smoke.
No, you just duck smoke.
Fuck all this PC shit.
You just
Fuck
duck
all
smoke.
this happy to be
I'm about
shit
to get
y'all
at
want
him.
me
You
on.
just duck smoke. I'm gonna tell you why.
Give it to me.
You duck smoke because you don't want to answer, nigga. You don't want to answer where it derived from. What happened, nigga? Because if he was up before you and then you mad at him, did he not give you an opportunity?
No, you missing it.
I'm just asking.
Missing it. You missing it.
I know.
You my man. I'm standing with you, but I want to know. I'm confused.
But the important thing here is what I've said, which is you got to just dead certain narratives before they take off. Whatever existed, whatever like hateful shit, who cares? Today, there's a small window for entrepreneurs and people sitting at home to create the change that they want to be.
Got it.
Wow.
Hey, so Lopez, thank you for the 1,000 bits again. He says, if it's media, it's Charlemagne, you and Vlad. Radio money hits different. No, but every money's hitting different. That's why I think he should lose. Bro, do you understand? And this is no shots. You know, this is the OG, a legend right here, my man Star. Like, I remember hearing when Star was saying that he signed he got fired from like a radio station or whatever, but he had signed a deal. And I remember he was like, yo, off the deal, he kept like $7 million. And I was like, damn, that sounds ridiculous. I'm like, he got $7 million out of it, which that's, of course, a lot of fucking money. But these days, I think the podcast and broadcasting game has just expanded where, bro, when Mealy Mole and Ruri say they got 10 million, they didn't get 10 million. But do I think they got 4 or 5? I do. Like, they said 4 or 5 for like 2-3 years. I do agree. I think they got that. I think they do. That's as much like you can leverage like a hype to go get that, or you used to. The market has changed. Most players in the game of podcasting have said that they're done giving out the bags. Gillian Wallow, which this I think also is historic, they might be the last of the Mohicans, where those outrageous deals are not being given out anymore. Everybody is starting to say, we want to look at the field and reevaluate. That's just what it is. So again, it's kind of astonishing when you hear that fucking $20 million is even a realm of possibility for Gillian Wallow. You get what I mean? Somebody said Joe got offered $20 million a long time ago. That's the difference. Well, I think that works in his favor, right? When Joe got offered $20 million is because they were just starting to spend. They didn't understand how competitive it was. These days, like for example, Gillian Wallow, they stayed with Barstools. Every company wanted them. They probably met with Amazon, Apple, Spotify. They probably met with everybody. And everybody had a bid. Shit, I ain't gonna lie to you. I told y'all this. I was very upfront about it. Like, I got a couple extra joints off of, you know what happened with my deal? There was 2 companies going back and forth. This company offered this day. 2 days later, the other company come back with another offer higher. I go to the other company, meet my lawyer, my agent, say, hey, this is what the other company's going for. What's up? What you got to offer? They say, let's think about it. 3 days later, they come back with a higher offer. They're doing bidding wars. So when Joe got offered the 20, there wasn't a market. So what I'm trying to say, if Joe Budden's podcast was as hot as he was when he got offered that 20, Joe would probably get 40. That's a fact. I'm telling you, that's a fact. If Joe's podcast was as hot, and I'm not saying it's not hot now, but if it was that timing now, or not now because everyone stopped giving out those deals. Let's say a year ago, and he's a free agent a year ago, he gets 40. Why? Because everybody's competing. The market dictates what's going to happen. So, again, I think he brings this up also to say, all right, yo, I'm not hating on Gillian Wallow. Good for them, but I walked away from 22 before they even got that even offer. And the market wasn't even established when I had that offer, right? I think what's happening now, he then tried to shift the conversation to Charlemagne. I just think Charlemagne I don't think he's ever tried to make money as a podcast. Like, Charlamagne's never really embraced this internet era in terms of streaming or podcasting. Yeah, they put up the Breakfast Club clips. He's still a radio dude. He's a radio, TV, author-ass dude. You know what I mean? He's not trying to, let me build a YouTube channel and try to get it in. He's not the guy to do that. And I'm not mad at him for not doing it. Remember what I said about Angela Yee? The nigga spent like 15 years on radio. Why the fuck would you abandon that to be a YouTube dude? I spent so much time on YouTube that, remember, as soon as Twitch started acting up, I said, I'm getting all platforms, and now I'm going to be streaming on YouTube as well. So it is what it is. All right, let me just have them play this. Then I'll kind of wrap this up and we move on to the next topic. Come on.
Shit is happening in front of them. That's the focus. It's not him. We celebrating Gilly Wallow, me, Nori, you, math. We celebrate. There is no time for none of that other shit that niggas is on. Maybe before, see, you gotta understand, maybe before when, that crab's in the bucket, oh shit, crab's not supposed to be in the bucket. Maybe it was a little bit of that where you fight because everybody trying to get to the top and you fight and hey, fuck that nigga and opportunities, and maybe some of that exists. But today in 2023, everybody, the cream should have risen. There is no need to hate anybody. If you're not trying to hand out the information or help, not just look like it, but really some life-changing generational wealth, type shit, then move. It's a distraction. I told y'all, my plan is 50 years old. I got a plan. I don't have time. Who's the highest paid? Well, wait a minute. Y'all can't be talking to me because I'm not paid by nobody. It's the other thing. It's just words that I know.
Mr. Frank says, could you please explain how Joe Budden is worth $40 million when he isn't in the top 100 Spotify podcasts and your stream clips get as much views? Also, he always has low tier sponsors. Please break it down. What are the top 100 podcasts getting as Joe is pretty small in comparison? I think that's an interesting question you're asking. I don't know the monetization strategy of Joe Budden's podcast. If you ask me, I would say it's primarily through Patreon. If you ask me, I'm going to give a number. I think Joe Budden, let's go to Joe Budden's Patreon. We're pocket watching, so, it's big act. We always do it. Joe Budden Patreon, right? Okay, so if we go to Joe Budden's Patreon right here, there's a few levels, $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month. There's more levels, I think, and even $50 a month. By the way, Joe, I believe, releases 2 podcasts a week that you have to be on Patreon to get. People love his podcast. If you ask me, I think at bare minimum, Joe Budden has, and this is, I'm going to go off, I got to go off the market, even though this isn't hip hop, Flagrant 2 Patreon, right? Let's go to Flagrant 2 Patreon. Oh my God, here we go. Flagrant, is this? Okay. Flagrant 2 Patreon, and I'm going to use them because they put out their numbers. They have 18,000 patrons paying $84,000 a month, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. Joe Budden has a deal with Patreon. He puts out more content on Patreon than Flagrant. Flagrant's hugely popular, but he puts out more than them. I would believe, let's say Joe Budden has 50,000 people on Patreon, okay? Might be ambitious. Again, I'm using Flagrant 2 as a kind of litmus test. Let's say 50,000, right? If they're making 84,000 and they kind of got the same amount of tiers. Let's say I want to believe that Joe Budden is making about $200,000 off Patreon, right? By the way, this is nasty work right here. I'm over here really pocket watching heavy. Okay. 200,000 off here, that's $2 million, $2.4 million actually, a year just off Patreon. Let's go to, what is he doing ads? Is he doing crazy ads? Is it big ads? Is it big sponsorships? Is Cash App still there? What would YouTube revenue? YouTube revenue, by the way, for a lot of people, if you don't know, YouTube revenue is usually the least of the monetization strategy with any podcast, okay? It's just, it's good for eyes, but if you're waiting on AdSense to get you rich, especially if you're only dropping once or twice a week, it's just not going to work unless you break it down like Vlad into 1 million clips. You get what I mean? And then that would probably work. So again, I could see his podcast making, so we got $2 million or $2.5 million from Patreon. Let's say, I don't know, let me just start throwing around some numbers. Let's say he makes $500,000 from ads on YouTube. That's $3 million. So AdSense pays him $500,000, $3 million. Let's say all the ads they get, another $500,000. Or let's just put $1 million, because who knows if he's doing these deals. Like, he might have bigger endorsements. He might be working with record labels. He might be working with, who knows? He might not be, you might not easily see it. Product place, I don't know what it is, right? So a cool $1 million or so, you feel me? So now if I'm kind of guesstimating what I think that podcast is making, remember, he's independent, right? So, he got to go get it. Okay, cool. So we're at 3 plus the 1, that's 4. I'll add another 750,000 and buffer higher or lower. So let's say he's making 4.75 or maybe 3.25. Okay, between that range. So I just gave it a range. So 3.25 million or 4.75 million per year. Now, what usually happens if you're ever going to be exclusive, and if you're talking about worth, what's the worth of something? If you ever try to get the worth of a business, and by the way, the most of that, no disrespect to the guys who are on it and the staff, I think if Joe's making $4 million on a podcast a year, I think he's leaving with $3 million profit. I'm gonna just be honest with you. This is the reason why I got rid of Rory and Mealy Mall. Everybody else is gonna be on salary. I think he's smart enough that he could probably pay everybody with $1 million, right? So he still leaves with about 3.5. Okay, cool. We're making 3.5. If you were gonna evaluate that for an exclusive deal, number one, he's on all platforms now and could do a deal later. If someone was gonna come to Joe for a deal, he's making $3 million by himself after expenses, right? This is me just guesstimating. You're probably gonna have to do a multiplier of at least 10, right? You're gonna have to do at least 10. You're gonna justify him getting off all platforms, which could hurt his growth. You got to do a lot of things. So now, I'm thinking for a 3-year deal, it's at least $30 million he would be worth at this moment if he was gonna do a deal exclusive, right? I think that would be fair. 4 years, it could be $4 million or $40 million. So if you're wondering how that 40 will come up, that's how my math will be mathing. All right. Sorry. Okay. So somebody says, Ak, you're out of your fucking mind. Well, I gave vague numbers to kind of come up with a yearly amount. And then I kind of took some took some expenses off top. Right. But keep in mind, Joe's not traveling. Right. He's not traveling to go do podcasts. He's paying everybody's salaries. He's not getting a new production crew every time. They're shooting at the same place. I would imagine other than paying the staff, he has a low overhead. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to go set up in motherfucking Houston, Texas in a strip club to go do a shoot or figure out camera people and sound people there. He has it's a pretty set thing. Hey, you guys show up 2 to 3 times a week. We film content for 7 to 8 hours. We have these editors chop it up. We'll be good. I think my numbers are kind of okay if you really want to say that, right? So again, that's what I think his podcast is making. Again, let me tell you how the exclusive game goes, right? In the exclusive game, if I could make, just think about Joe Rogan too. Whatever money you could make, you add a premium to it, right? So whatever money you could make by yourself, you times it by 5 to 10. Some people might even say 15, right? That's going to be the money that you're going to get paid for exclusivity. That's just how it goes. You get what I mean? Shit. Bro, we're on Rumble right now. What do you think how that works? You know what I mean? I know what I would make just streaming on Twitch. All right, cool. Let's take some hours, blah, blah. Let's do some quick math, All right, cool. Because I'm going to be giving those hours to Rumble, all right, bing, pay me this. Cool. That's how it works. I'm telling you, bro, listen, I don't want to hear it. I'm trying to tell you how to math. Feel me? Me, I like to do a mix of both. My main platforms, I like to keep it open. Certain deals, I've done streaming. Right now we're doing streaming partially exclusive, and also we're doing our podcast exclusive at the moment. Who knows? We might get back in an open market, start making our own and whatever. Shit happens. But if you're wondering how Joe Budden probably arrived at that, yes. Does Joe Budden has $40 million in the bank? I don't think so. By the way, a lot of people don't have $40 million in the bank. I don't have $40 million in the bank, okay? You know what I mean? That's a very ambitious number, right? Cool. Yeah, okay. I did my little pocket watcher thing. Let me just play the rest of it and then we're off of this.
Y'all are right. Highest paid by whoever be. I don't. You feel me? You figured it out?
I hear you.
I'm not. It's.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure that they was talking to me. I hope they wasn't talking to me. Now,
that's a good one.
We pour out some Hennessy for Charlemagne because he ain't got no millions. Hold on for a second. Nigga told on himself. That is.
That's not true. Their beef is so petty, that's not true.
Honestly, though, hey, Charlemagne, call me, man. You did all of the 10 years, best morning show, all of the best viral moment, interview, Ray J. Feminine, and they make more. Create the fucking change, or you will be a slave to that infrastructure. It's just my very consistent point. That's crazy.
I think we had a full circle.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think we had a full circle. How we came in, we talked about how the Atlanta look is different. The Atlanta look is different because they all complement each other and they all be working as a
Yeah, they're not doing this.
The New York rap scene, the New York hip hop scene.
Joe, I kind of ended with saying this. I don't necessarily think Envy or Charlemagne were trying to hate. Joe, like when you come on my podcast or like, you know, even when I come on yours or when you've been other places, you talk the field. When you talk the field, you talk the business. By the way, that's a great thing, Joe. You're one of the people who have been the most open and taught people, even like me. I always say, I'm glad that you've taught me things about the business of podcasting because before I wasn't even interested. Okay. And I think you comment on the field or other people. Like I remember before I had a podcast, you did the Caller Daddy breakdown. You laid out your gripes against Spotify, and it was very open. You showed people and taught people about a business and a sector of the business that they didn't even knew exist. Because such is the case, people like me, or even say Wallow and Gilly, or when other media personalities get together, they have similar conversations. I don't think they're shitting on you. Joe, you're the podfather. You get what I mean? Without some of your bold moves, whether we agreed with it or not, it also helped establish and also bring other people into the fold. Again, I don't think nobody was shitting on you saying you were broke. I think they were probably reacting to, me and him, we had a conversation on this podcast where, I was doing the pocket watcher thing and he was saying, hey, don't be so liberal or generous in thinking some of these guys are making as much money as you think they are. They're actually not. And I think maybe those people or whoever felt that stone was probably saying, we are making that money. And I think they were trying to also clarify. So I don't think they were taking a shot at Joe. The great thing here is I think Joe's making a lot of money, right? I'm fortunately doing okay. Adam's making a great amount of money. Vlad, Gilly and Wallow, they have done amazing things and shown what the podcast game and just negotiating off straight podcast. They're not doing 20 things. They do other things, but that podcast is their main thing. And even Drink Champs, salute to Nori. If you guys don't know how Drink Champs happen, they do their deals differently. They're one of the only people these days that they'll cut a deal for their video separate from their audio. Like, for example, with Off the Record, Spotify has rights to the video with audio and also the audio by itself. With Drink Champs, Revolt owns the video and Interval through Warner owns the audio. So two different companies have rights off of different pieces of the content. So they got some millions there and some millions there. I think that's genius as well. Congratulations to DJ EFN and of course Nori. But I hate to see if there are shots taken at Joe, because I do think, if I'm Joe, I would look at without me, all y'all niggas wouldn't even be doing all this podcast and shit, right? I get that. And I understand people like Gilly and Wallow or even like Charlemagne, because Charlemagne don't be talking a lot of shit, man. Charlemagne he kind of sits out a lot of this stuff. And one thing, me talking to Charlemagne, I've kind of figured out, if you're looking at viral moments or, oh shit, nah, Charlemagne just clowned this dude or gave this person dog in a day, it was crazy as hell. If you're looking at that to kind of make you feel like Charlemagne is succeeding, you don't know where the heights of success could be. You get what I mean? Charlemagne is on some of the lists that, bro, I wish I could get on. You know what I mean? It's like, I seen Charlemagne on a list for most powerful people in media. They made this list right here. I'm still figuring out how the hell could I get on there? Look at some of these people. All these are executives. These are executives and look, you see Charlemagne right here. If you think this is not worth anything, sometimes the lens that we look at shit from is, are you hot on the black people circuit? Like, they look at me and they be like, yo, yeah, he's hot with the kids, which is cool. But then there's so much more to the world, right? You look at this and you're like, bro, how do you become one of the top 35 most powerful people in media? You're on the list with people like Anna Wintour. You get what I mean? Agnes True. Like some of these people, like you're on the list with Stephen Colbert. You're on the list with, again, I want to be on a list like this. Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, right? Don Lemon just got canned recently. I ain't gonna lie. Jimmy Fallon. Why they put Questlove? It's the Questlove though. Look at some of these names on this list. Like, you're not going to see too many faces. So while we all argue about a list that Complex made, Charlemagne's also on a different, list with Sean Hannity, you know what I mean? And Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, right? Lester Holt. Like, look at some of these people. Like, there's a lot more to go for everybody included. Seth Meyers. There's a lot. Lorne Michaels, like, Jesus Christ, he's executive producer of SNL. So, there's a lot more to go. And I think everybody has their space. Like, fortunately, I think for everybody, like, Charlemagne is super humble. And, I think Charlemagne could really pop out and just, start talking and shit, but that's just so unlike him. That's, so unlike him, but that's the atmosphere we're all in right now, dog. Everybody told about the M's they got. Charlemagne, you ain't gonna tell niggas about the M's you just got? You got them M's. Like, you ain't gonna tell them? So it is what it is. All right. Anyway, I love Joe, love Charlemagne, love Gideon Wallow. We are going to move on. All right. Damn, my first topic took a little bit, right? It's all good. We're in the first hour, people. All right, cool. How's everybody doing?